Started, so it is 11:31. We're here with Frank Caliva. We're here to discuss the leadership program that he has presented to council. With me, President Hudson, thank you for being here, and Jen Schultz, Councilor Schultz, and Councilor Schulmajok. So thank you. You got the floor.
Thanks, councilors. Appreciate the opportunity. So a little background on this program. We, the city, senior staff, department heads, are approached pretty consistently, I don't want to say on a weekly basis, but certainly a couple times a month, from staff that are looking for professional development. And we really, as a city, have never, at least in my experience, focused on professional development, dedicated a lot of resources to it. This administration did put a position into human resources, which we had filled briefly, probably for about a year. It's been vacant. We've been focused on filling other positions more quickly, but it is still on the roster, and we do intend to fill it. But for professional development, a director of professional development, or coordinator, I think is the actual title.
So it's still to be filled.
Still to be filled, correct. And we've never put a lot of dollars there either. So we had the salary, but we didn't have a lot of dollars to back it up. And professional development is not inexpensive. We do have some opportunities for professional development that are provided by Bloomberg. Those tend to be at the very highest levels of management, not always, but largely. And we have some other philanthropic or grant-sponsored programs that we've had the opportunity to take advantage of, but really hit or miss. Nothing that an organization of our size really should be doing, certainly not to that magnitude. A number of the inquiries that we got were from folks that we would consider, in the corporate world to be high potential, folks that are on the cusp of the next move in their careers. And so we talked as a senior staff about what we might possibly be able to do for those folks. We don't pay them as well as they ought to be paid. They don't always move as quickly as they'd like to move in terms of responsibility. So was there something that we could do? And we remembered the program that we're talking about now, the Emerging Executive Leadership Program, seemed to be a perfect fit. So it's provided by a number of local colleges and universities, coordinated through CenterState CEO, each of the 7 meetings. So there's 7 meetings over the course of a year. Each of those 7 meetings is presented by a different college or university, along with a practitioner of whatever that particular topic is. So you have 2 presenters for each of the 7, and it's focused on folks who are likely to be moving into a senior management position in the very near future. A little bit ambiguous, but folks who are really on an accelerated track for the next level headed into senior management. Focuses generally on critical thinking, communications, empowerment of both leader and team. Supported by, as I mentioned, a number of local colleges and universities, OCC, SU, Lemoyne, SUNY Oswego, Wells College, and then Leadership Greater Syracuse does the component on community involvement. We found some dollars in human resources, set aside about $10,000 to pay for the program for as many folks as we could get into the program and as many folks as we could pay for. With $10,000, we went out to senior staff and department heads and requested nominations. The requirements that we asked folks to adhere to were 3 to 5 years of current supervisory experience and demonstrated ability to be, or capability really, to move into or be considered for a commissioner level, so commissioner or comparable level position in the next 1 to 5 years. So these are definitely
particular program requires that.
For this particular program requires that. This particular program is meant for folks who are about to go into executive ranks. So yes, this would be our comparable, the city's comparable version of that. Yes, Councilor. Yep.
Do all departments have executive ranks in them?
Yes, so everyone has a commissioner and most have a deputy commissioner. So everybody's at the commissioner level and most have a deputy commissioner, or in some cases, multiple deputy commissioners.
So the different aspects of the curriculum, do each university bring their own as they're going to teach it?
That's
or
correct.
Is it
No, so it's now become a standard curriculum, so it's been developed, but each university or college presents so on their given month, they present their curriculum.
But we create that, I mean, not the city, but somebody else does create it.
It was created, yes, it was created by those colleges and universities.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay,
yes,
that's my question.
a number of years ago.
Okay.
I think we're creeping up on 10 years, I think, since the program
okay.
started.
All right.
So yes. So you, let's see, actually, I didn't pass this out, so you can't see. But let me pass that out. So you see the topics of each of the 7 months, which is a very general kind of leadership curriculum issues. It's not, as I think was mentioned in our last conversation, it's not focused on municipal government as such. It's really focused on general leadership skills that be applicable anywhere. But our intent is, when the program is over later in the fall, is that we'll get the graduates of the program together, assuming all 6 graduate, and we will provide them with additional professional development activities to kind of fill in the gaps between what they learned in this program and what we think they need and what they think they need in a municipal setting. So we'll add to this ourselves, focused on municipal government. In terms of ultimate who was nominated, so there were 13 employees that accepted nominations. I think there were multiples, close to 20 that we talked to and reached out to, but 13 ultimately accepted nominations, went to the information session, and then 6 of those 13 ultimately chose to apply, and all 6 were accepted. I should mention that the folks who run the program look for a diversity of experience, a diversity of background, a diversity of industry. When they put the cohorts together, they agreed to look at our folks not as all coming from the same industry, the city, municipality, but to look at the kinds of work they were doing as being diverse. So we were able to get all 6 of our folks who applied to be accepted into the program. We did have one of the 13 folks who were in the original nominations actually choose a different program that was not general leadership, but very focused on their particular job. So it was a comparable tuition, and so we agreed to put them in that other program.
Can I ask, what's the
Sure.
budget for professional development overall?
About $35,000.
That's for all employees?
For the entire city. There are some departments that have small pockets of dollars that they set aside, but the city-wide that is administered by Human Resources is under $40,000 a year. And then you see public safety puts a larger amount aside, and I don't know the exact amount, for very skill specific. Yeah, fire as well. Yep.
So fire and police both give raises based on continuing education and training, correct?
That is correct.
So does this also result in a bump?
We do not do that.
More of like a degree driven than
Right.
certificate.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. We do not have that benefit in the city. 61% of the folks nominated were non-male, and 31% of the folks who were nominated were persons of color. That percentage dropped a little bit in terms of who actually chose to apply. So we had a number of the folks who are of color who either chose not to apply or who went to the more specific program. So that's where we are. Nominations for this year, applications for this year have closed.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, certainly.
So we have 6 that actually decided to do this program
That's
in
correct.
particular. But my question is, if more than 6 would have wanted, would have been able to sustain that?
So as it turns out, yes. We thought, we weren't sure whether we were going to get the most favorable pricing on the tuition or not, so we probably would have had room in that $10,000 budget for 2 more, maybe 3.
okay.
So we would have, if more had applied, we would have been able to at least take 3 more.
Okay. And then in conversations that we had prior to this meeting, you were explaining to me, so I just wanted them to hear this because this came up in conversations over here with council members, that the actual cost of the classes, it's less than what
It's less
we
than the
knew about.
$10,000. So,
Right.
as you and I talked about, Councilor, the 2 things we didn't know is, were we going to get were they going to give us the lower price, because we technically didn't qualify for it, but they agreed to give it to us. And so we didn't know whether we were going to pay more. And then there's also, we wanted to make sure that if there were some incidental costs. So sometimes the participants are asked to sponsor a meeting or make a presentation, or do they would need office supplies or something like that as part of one of the presentations that they did. So we the actual invoice, I think, is for $7,300, something like
So
that.
if there was any left money, then we could use that
That's
towards the
correct.
next group.
Yep, that's correct. Absolutely. We'd use it for the next group. And assuming this goes well, and for both of us, right? They were, the folks running the program took a little bit of a flyer because it really wasn't designed for municipalities, and we made a pitch that we thought that it would work well. And so assuming it works for them, and our 6 participants come back and tell us that it was a good program, we'd be anxious to do this again next year.
So, quick question, Frank. Is there an educational requirement? Because I know these folks and I know a little bit about them, but in the application, was there a educational minimum requirement? Or?
No, there's not. They use the job experience as the primary qualifier. So it's really, the program counselor was designed for folks who are about to become executives within their organization, and some new executives as well.
Okay.
But education component, I don't believe, is in there.
And you said the length of this is how long?
It's 7 meetings over the course of a course of the year.
Of a year.
It's 7 months, once a month.
So once a month.
Yep. It's once a month. I think they skip during the summer or something, so it gets extended a little bit. But
Once a month, 8-hour day, or?
yep, once a month, full day. Yep, I think I think it's more than 8 hours. I think they do presentations. I think they go into the evening.
Okay. So I know through our professional development, there is a component with OCC where they do supervision and management. How, I guess with leadership and management, you can kind of differentiate. Was that the idea that this is different from what is provided by OCC?
I think that's right. This has got some academic elements to it, but it's not truly an academic program. It's presented by academic institutions. It's much more practical and pragmatic. It's the old news you can use, things you can start working on tomorrow, as opposed to more of the theory and the arc of knowledge that you would get from a traditional academic program. That's part of the reason why it's co-taught by a practitioner, right? So you've got somebody who's the CEO of a company or the executive director of a not-for-profit who's presenting along with the academic institution, because the idea is for it to be exceedingly practical as opposed to academic.
And actually, OCC, it's a partner in this program.
OCC is a partner here. Yep.
So they are part of this.
Yep.
Well, Frank, it's exciting. I think is when you look at something like this, is municipality, government level usually don't get into a level like that.
We don't get this opportunity often.
But it's good. What I would ask is probably, I don't know, as they teach this, could they be maybe more specific in terms of, as they design the program, to think of a government managers and leaders, because it is a political environment. It's a little bit different than if you would go to a corporate world. There are some stuff that are specific to these walls that I think it may be beneficial to really thoroughly think through designing a program that is specific to government agency and you know, government employees.
I think that's good advice, Counselor. One of the things that I'd like to do is if this program got enough traction, we would probably have a lot more folks that would be eligible than they would be willing to accept, and I wouldn't mind seeing a version of this for ourselves that was just focused on the city, doing exactly what you just described.
But
in addition.
to your point, this is when you pull the graduates in and then you do the
That's
extra teaching
Precisely,
to bring
Counselor.
in the government piece.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep. So we'll do follow-up.
Don't be afraid to pull in us as
Great.
it can be a resource in developing something like that.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That would be great.
Excellent.
And I guess the other one is I guess you know as we look to the future of much younger folks. I don't know if you know in what way we could encourage them or maybe communicate to them that there is this supervision and management that OCC does that could be a bridge to this, and maybe that may be a component that as we market this out, as we stick with this and market it out, that it could this OCC supervision could be a prerequisite to that, because it can be a good. I took it years ago on the Mayor Minor.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
That's good advice. I'm not familiar with it, but you know the banking industry that I came from was very big on that kind of education and had a partnership with OCC that did both banking specific and general management and supervision. So having something like that caters to a municipal environment would be great.
Yeah. Good job. Do you have any more questions?
You good?
I'm all good.
Okay.
too.
Thanks,
So
Counselor.
thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
No, delighted to be here. Thank you. What a great afternoon.
You too.
Two.